Hey guys, it's Nathaniel here today and we're going to talk about photography basics. Mainly shutter speed, ISO, aperture, and white balance. Okay, aperture. It's usually the number in the middle if you're using Canon. So aperture is the size of your lens opening. The lower your aperture number, the more light comes in because the wider your lens opening will be. But the higher your aperture number, the smaller the opening will be, the less light comes in. So one way you could take advantage of aperture is to use it to blur backgrounds. Here's a photo taken at a higher aperture. Now here's another photo taken at f1.8. Now shutter speed. If you're in manual mode, it's usually the one at the very left if you're using Canon. And it's the one in fraction form. Now this is the amount of time that light reaches your sensor. So a shutter set to 1/60 means that the sensor will be exposed for 1/60th of a second. So the higher your shutter speed, the sharper your photo will look. But the smaller your shutter speed, the blurrier it will look like. One way to take advantage of shutter speed is when you're shooting sports. If you're taking a picture of someone running, you could put your shutter speed to 1/400 or stuff like that. Put it in the higher range. But if you're shooting something like the stars in the night, you would want to go to the seconds. You would want to go to the whole numbers, 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and even 30 seconds. In Canon at least. Doing this will have more light coming in your photo. So now ISO is your sensitivity to light. The higher your ISO, the brighter the image will be. The smaller your ISO, the darker your image will be. As simple as that. But there's one catch. The higher your ISO, the more grain or noise will pop up in your photo. So here's a picture taken in ISO 100, and here's another photo taken at ISO 12,800. Now you see that some details are being lost just because of that high ISO. So here's something you need to do in general. When taking a photo in a very bright area like in broad daylight, you could put your ISO to 100. But if you're shooting in a dark place like this room right now, you could have it set to 800 or to 1600. I usually do not change my ISO just for quality's sake, so I'll really try my best to tweak the shutter speed and aperture just so that I could keep my ISO as low as possible. So how do you know your photo is exposed enough? Below all those stuff, there's a light meter. It's usually the one with the numbers and an arrow somewhere. When your arrow points to 0, it means that your photo is well exposed. If it's somewhere to the right, it means it's a bit overexposed. So you would want to put your ISO lower, or put your aperture higher, or put your shutter speed higher. But if it's a bit to your left, it means it's underexposed. So what you'd want to do is to put your shutter speed lower, or put your ISO higher, or open up your aperture to a lower number. Now here's a bonus. White balance. White balance is the color temperature of your photo. It's usually measured in Kelvin, but in cameras like what I use right now, you don't have the option to change your Kelvin value. But there are presets, and using those presets, you're really good to go. But for those who have advanced cameras, the higher your number, the colder or the bluer your photo will look. But the lower your Kelvin number, the warmer or yellower your photo will look. But if you're like me that trusts a bit of auto too much, you could have this in automatic mode. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching. Here's a video about things you should do as a beginner photographer, and here's another video that YouTube recommends just for you. Bye bye.